Hi there. Good morning. 11:45 a.m. on Friday, September 16th, 2022. More or less just trying to capture a few notes of a pretty interesting thing I'm witnessing right now and the various layers of it. Woke up 2 mornings ago to the tree, the oak tree across the street from where I live. Literally one of the center big pieces. I mean, this thing is probably 40, 50 feet in the air, and one of the center pieces split and fell. One half of it fell one way, the other half fell the other, and in the direction to the left, it was kind of miraculous it didn't fall on the house to the left. The tree itself is on the house to the right's property. So long story short, apparently these trees hollow out after about 70 years, and this neighborhood was built in the mid-50s, so mid to late 50s. So a lot of these trees, when this happens, it's a sure sign the rest of the tree is not far behind, and clearly they can't take that risk with homes, so the whole fucking tree is having to be taken down. So I'm watching a crew of guys currently take down this huge tree. And so there's a variety of levels that I'm enjoying and processing and watching this at, and in no particular order. First, how these guys work as a team and what this job requires in terms of sort of skill set and teamwork. It's I can't help it, the way I'm wired when I observe something like this, and I'm just dropping this as a general area to talk about later. I'm not going to go off in the details now, but I find myself unable to watch it without thinking of and observing the efficiency and the skill set and how it could be more or less efficient, and I just play with the idea as I watch these guys. The guy in the top of the tree has to tie these branches in such a way that they don't fall on the roof of the house. So it's perhaps it's not rocket science, but it's definitely, I'm sure the first time somebody does this, there's definitely an element of, okay, I better truly understand what I'm doing here, because if I fuck it up, it's, I'm sure they have insurance and that's what it's for, but you don't want to drop a limb through the roof of a house or have it fall on one of your workers. So it's not small, but it's not enormous stuff. It's an interesting combination of not a big deal, and probably I also can't help living in Sarasota and knowing how this town works. These guys, I hope the guy up in the tree is making at least 25 an hour, but I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't, despite having that responsibility and this skill set. So again, without going off in further detail now, it's just interesting to watch the efficiency and teamwork required and skill sets required of this task of taking down an enormous tree in between two properties, two homes. So I'm watching that process. Then I'm processing it. Now it's a tree that's in the process of dying, but it's not dead yet, and it's hard for me. I love trees. I'm a fucking love trees. Trees and clouds are like my two favorite things in nature. So watching a tree come down, and again, because of the town I live in and the development, and I would say the lack of concern for the environment that is demonstrated on a more macro level in the town of Sarasota. We've watched some pretty old trees that weren't dying be taken down, and I had a huge, beautiful banyan tree on a property that a friend used to rent about 6 houses down from me come down a few years ago, and that was actually really torturous for me to watch. It hurt me. So there's an element as I watch this that is, I'm not quite as emotionally attached simply because I understand the reality of this, whereas the banyan tree was simply they were destroying an old house, building a new one, and it just didn't fit their plan. That was a little bit of a different energy to process than this, but I still feel a loss for the tree as I'm watching it get cut down. Then there's the layer of the not so small shift in the view that this is going to provide at the front of my house. And I don't spend nearly as much time as my good friend who now lives with me or is temporarily living with me, as much time as he spends out there. But as the weather gets cooler, I will definitely be on the porch more. And this is a monumental shift in view. I mean, it's a massive tree. It's at least 50, 60 feet into the air. It's spans the good property line of 2 pieces of property, and it's literally in front of my house. So this is opening up the sky and the view, and so I'm watching the view change as these guys take one ginormous limb down at a time. So it's just a really, it's not every day that you get to have a literal front row seat at such a thing. So, and I happen to be home. It's funny, I find myself wanting to say homesick, because I'm recovering from my renter and I are recovering from poison sumac reactions. We were cutting down our own little tree a couple weekends ago. It turned out to be poison sumac, and we're into week 2, deep within week 2 of our severe reactions to the poison sumac. So I'm pretty much unable to do much and have been for these 2 weeks, which is not something I handle well, generally speaking. When I'm forced to sort of rest and not do as much as I like to do. So anyway, there's a lot of layers of this, and then there's a whole nother layer I'm working on in email communication to a woman. And I can only dream that this woman is actually going to receive and read this email, and I can't hold my breath and get attached to that. But if this woman does receive this email that I'm writing to her in even a fraction of the way that I could dream, it could result in something really, really needed and really wanted in my world right now. And again, I'm just dropping enough so that I'll understand and know and remember what I'm referencing, but I don't want to go any further detail. But I'm hoping to send that email by the end of the day today. And I found myself, I was writing it with watching this out of the corner of my eye, but now I find that I'm drawn to just sit like a little kid. I kind of feel like a little kid. I'm out looking out my big front window, my knees on the couch, just like a little kid, kind of watching the activity. And so there's a lot of layers and a lot of pieces, and it's cool, and it's kind of heart-wrenching, but it's also pretty cool, and it's beautiful in terms of I don't know, like just seeing this new view of things, very powerful metaphorically, right? Everything's sort of interconnected and can have meaning in whatever way we choose to interpret it and see it. And I happen to be smack dab in a pretty monumentally shifting metamorphosis time and transmutation time in my little world, and working to change perspectives, heal perspectives. And so when you faced with something this literal that matches that on a different level of what you're experiencing, it's pretty cool. And again, I don't find many people, even as I try to describe to my friend how I'm processing, observing the way that these guys work, how I imagine that guy up in the bucket, like how did he learn how to do his job? How did he gain that confidence? Did he, and I placed myself, and then it made me think of my Ironman world experience, because that to date is the place where my event world experience, and specifically in Ironman, I work mostly with guys, and I did for a number of years, and I, drove 26-foot trucks and drove forklifts. And because I wasn't a full-timer, I didn't get the opportunity really to perfect those skills per se. but I remember, like I had nerves about, what if I fuck this up? What if I hit something, that I'm not able to see with the 26-foot truck? What if I drop a pallet that I'm carrying on the forklift? What if I, and I wonder, and so I'm watching this and I can't help how I process it. And so I'm processing it from like learning. Like I find myself looking at these guys wanting to get a job doing it, wanting to learn that skill set, and and I love watching something that requires the flow of a team and multiple guys. And so anyway, that's enough drop points for now. I just wanted to share a little bit of what in this exact moment is a pretty unique thing that I'm getting to witness and watch and experience and process. And I'll likely return to it sometime in the near future to share in some different way, more expanded way, is what I anticipate. Okay,